nose translate to end where presumably you'll be next year when Eddie comes back?
It's different. With nose, you got a lot less of space to work with. Whereas, with end, you got a little bit more time to recover if you have bad feet work or whatever the case may be. So, with playing nose, you got to be a lot more precise. And that's one thing that I watched film on Eddie Goldman, and I seen that he does. He's very detailed in everything he does. His footwork is impeccable. Like everything is like darn near perfect. So that's just something that I try to work on it. And it helped me out because now when I get to end, I'm a lot quicker with a lot of my moves because I'm just used to being in there and it being a lot more tighter.
So needless to say, I mean, you feel like the progress you've made, it will make you a better end next year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, most definitely. And, it just, give me an opportunity to show my versatility to be able to, play that nose, the end, or wherever the case may be, or wherever I'm needed at.
Thank you.
JJ?
Bilal, I'm curious as you guys get, back to practice this week, what the message from Coach Nagy, from Coach Pagano has been about the Jaguars, seeing as they're, they have one win, like they're maybe more committed as a franchise to getting Trevor Lawrence next year. I'm seriously knowing what just happened to the Steelers and the Rams recently.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing you got to know is that this is the NFL. They have great players on their team as well. You can't look at records. I feel like when you get caught up in the record, that's when, you get lackadaisical and you don't go out there and play the best ball that you could play. So one thing we know about them is that they're a tough, gritty team. And a lot of the games that they lost this year have been close games. It's not like this team is just constantly getting blown out. They're going to fight and they're going to fight to the finish. So, the record. So Coach Nagy just really been preaching to us that the record don't matter. We got to go out there. We got to take care of business. We got to start fast and we got to finish strong.
Larry Mayer.
Hey, Bilal, would you agree that you're playing the best football right now of your career? And if so, what do you think accounts for that?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm playing the best football in my career right now. I feel like just lately I've been super locked in. Like I've been locked in all season, but I've been able to really like hit a groove right now. And I feel like everything's kind of coming together, and I feel like, it all starts in, the way I practice. I try to come out here each week, practice as hard as I possibly can. Don't matter who we playing. It don't matter how many plays I think I'll get. It don't matter if I'm playing end or nose. Wherever I'm at, I'm going to practice as hard as I possibly can. And I feel like it's just all translating over to Sundays on the field.
Zach Pearson.
Hey, Bilal, over the past couple of years, you've played alongside Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman, and a little bit last year with Brent Urban, but this year it's been mainly Brent Urban and Mario Edwards. What have you learned from them, and what's it like playing alongside those veterans?
Oh, well, those guys are great players as well. Brent, real stout in the run game, long guy, powerful guy, and he really makes his hay in the run game. And Mario Edwards, very dynamic guy can get after the quarterback in numerous ways. Very athletic, very gifted. So just being able to play with both of them has allowed me to pick up some of the things that they do and kind of put it in my tool shed a little bit. Which is why we've been successful this year as a D-line, because you have guys like that all across the board that can come in and provide different things and add value to the team.
Chris Emma.
Bilal, we get to see the production, the sacks, and what you bring to the defense, but we don't get to see kind of the stuff you do behind the scenes to have this kind of success. How would you describe your work and what you've done to reach this point in your career where, like you said before, you're having this type of season?
Bro, pretty much my whole life has been like an underdog type thing. I've never been the highest recruited guy, never had the most offers, never been a guy really looked at to be that guy. And, and that burnt me, and that added a lot of fire into me, and it just made me want to outwork everybody. I always told myself, like, if a guy was better than me, it was just going to be because he was more talented, not because he outworked me. And that's kind of the mindset I live by. And this offseason, I just grinded. I didn't have the year I wanted to have last year, dealt with injuries. So I just grinded. And I kept my head down and I went, no matter the circumstances, whether it was a pandemic or whatever, I was going to find a way to make things happen. And, I think all that, comes in and that's really the reason why I'm able to play at a high level right now. I didn't cheat the grind. I didn't cheat myself in the off season, and I think it's starting to show.
2 more for Bilal. Dan Wiederer.
Bilal, as an extension of that, Akeem talked a couple of weeks ago about how you were so receptive to learning and receptive to taking pointers from the first day you got here. Can you recall sort of that mindset in your earliest weeks and how much you think that has sort of continued to help you now?
Yeah, I've always been eager to learn. When you got guys, when you coming into a building with so many great defensive players, I feel like you'll be a fool if you weren't eager to learn from them and take things from them. So first day I came in here, I was eager. I told myself whenever I did drills, I was going to work with Akeem, like straight up. He was a guy that was, I wanted to have a career just like his. Dominant guy, respected in the league, all pro player, all pro caliber. And I told myself, every day I'm going to work with him. I'm going to find a way to work with him some way, somehow. And still to this day, I still work with him every single day. Nothing about me has changed. And I think, once he's seen that, I gained a lot of respect from him. It's just staying on top of those things. I mean, that's just how I am. So that's never going to change. And I'm gonna always be receptive. Even, God willing, I make it to my 8th, 9th year in the league, I'm still going to be eager to learn and figure out how I can get better.
Last one, JJ.
Well, kind of going off of that, what do you admire about Akeem's ability to play such a high volume in a game? And is that something?
Yeah, first of all, did he break up or is it we good? Well, to answer the first part of the question, first of all, Akeem is a dynamic player. I feel like he's very taken, like a lot of people take him for granted. A guy at his size, able to move the way he does and able to be an impact and play as much as he does and still continue to play at a high level is amazing. Me and him talk all the time, and I told him, I'm like, bro, like, the ability you have to be able to still be so impactful late in the games, playing the snap count that you play, in your 9th year in the league, that's impressive. And I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. He's one of those guys who's, in my opinion, always been under the radar in the eyes of everybody, which I don't understand because he's the most dominant player in this league to me. So, it's just one of those things where, I think he's very, he's taken for granted in that aspect. And then even on his leadership, I feel like people don't appreciate that enough. He was very willing to take me under his wing, which is, very rare. You don't find guys very willing to take, a young guy under their wing like that, 5th round draft pick from a small school. He's a very underrated guy and he doesn't get enough credit.
Thanks for your time this morning, Bilal.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Hey, Khalil, you've strung together a couple of really good games here. What is there a difference? Has there been a difference for you? Do you feel better physically? What's the difference between the last couple of games and maybe the few before that?
Just everybody playing on one accord. But at the same time, it's a lot of plays left out there. So it's a lot of stuff we're looking forward to getting better at this week.
Dan Wiederer.
Khalil, with an opportunity here in the next 11 days, be a factor and potentially get in the playoffs, what gives you confidence in this group's readiness to take a swing at this?
Just understanding the guys in the locker room, man, what this means to us, what this game means to us, just understanding the opportunity that we have and not wanting to waste this opportunity. Because time is not on our side, you know what I'm saying? We've given up those 6 weeks of losing, and so it's just time to make up for that time that we lost, you know what I'm saying? And what more to look forward to than Jacksonville this Sunday, you know what I'm saying?
Chris Emma.
Khalil, what do you admire about Bilal Nichols and the way that he works and kind of his rise up to this point?
One thing about Bilal, man, that I admire the most, not only, you know what I'm saying, him as a person, just his willingness to listen, you know what I'm saying, and take those, you know what I'm saying, those small little critiques that you tell him and use them to his advantage. And he's one of those guys. He listens and he works at it, and that's all you can really ask for from a young guy like that. You know what I'm saying? You see the reaping of those benefits of him listening and putting the work in, and it's a special thing to see. You know what I mean?
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Khalil, I know Roquan didn't get the Pro Bowl nod, but what have you seen from him this season?
I mean, that's beyond, that's crazy. That, you know what I'm saying, he didn't receive that honor because he definitely deserves it. I wish I could give him, you know what I'm saying, my bid. But at the end of the day, Roquan, man, he's a special player and a special person. Not only is he doing his job, but he's helping everybody do theirs by communicating and just seeing the growth as a player, you know what I'm saying, just on the field and communication, you know what I'm saying, and putting us in the right places and just getting calls out that, you know what I mean, that it's special to see, man. You know, it's crazy, but just understanding that he's having a hell of a year is enough, you know what I'm saying. I already know he knows, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with that situation, but just understanding what's at hand and getting to the playoffs is I feel like that'll be more important to him, especially to me. You know what I'm saying? So just looking forward to getting these next two, but more importantly, this next one.
Cam Ellis.
Khalil, it seemed like opposing defenses have had trouble with Mitch's hard count the last 2 or 3 weeks. As someone who's lined up against him in practice a bunch, what makes his hard count so effective?
I can't really tell you. Just understanding what it is, situational football. He does a good job with his voice inflection and all those different things, but just understanding what's at stake and understanding how, you know what I mean, how the tempo of the game goes, how the momentum changes. All of that kind of affects the hard count. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes all the, you know what I mean, all quarterbacks good at it in those particular situations, understanding what it is and what, you know what I mean, what the defense is thinking, and they want to get off on the ball. It's all those different things, and so it's just, yeah, I can't really put a like, you know what I'm saying, can't put my finger on it, but it's it's him and what he does.
Couple more for Khalil. Pat, go ahead.
Khalil, could you put your finger on what went wrong with the defense, like in the Lions game, and what makes you think things will get?
He said, "Can you put your finger on?" What about it? What about what you want me to put my finger on again?
What did I'll rephrase. Could you figure? Do you know what went wrong with the defense against the Lions game? And, you know,
The Lions?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. We don't talk to you very often. I got to ask these questions.
Yeah. It's a lot of different things. Just understanding the type of quarterback Matthew Stafford is. His ability to get the ball out and get it out quickly and in the right positions to get a receiver's room to get yards after the catch. That made that effective. And so just understanding that. And yeah, I can't give up too much, but yeah, I just put that out there. They did a hell of a job getting the ball out. He did a hell of a job getting the ball out, getting it out quick.
What makes you confident that the defense can be the best version of itself the next 2 weeks?
The guys in the room, the guys on the field, the guys on the defensive side of the ball, man, just answering the bell and answering the challenges that we've been facing all year. This is no different, you know what I'm saying? We don't take this game lightly, you know what I'm saying? We don't take you know what I'm saying? Whether it's, I don't know who's going to be the quarterback for these guys, or whether it's Minshew or anybody else. Just understanding that we have to be ready to play our best football, you know what I'm saying? And it's the most important game because it's the next game. I feel like that's the best way to put that.
Last one here. Dan, go ahead.
Leo, quick two-parter here. Number one, at this stage of your career, what does being selected to the Pro Bowl mean to you individually? And then totally unrelated, how would you describe Brent Urban and the energy he brings to you guys?
Man, you two different combos. Okay. One, the first question, obviously I'm honored, you know what I'm saying? It's a hell of an accomplishment, you know what I mean, being recognized by not only fans but the guys you play against in this league, and so and coaches, you know what I'm saying? It's a hell of an honor, man, and something that I don't take lightly, you know what I mean? But at the same token, like you said, Brent Urban, you know what I'm saying? Another guy, you know what I'm saying, that comes in and does his job, you know what I'm saying? And he does it effectively when he's in the game. You know what I'm saying? There's some, yeah, it was one of those, Brent is one of those guys, man, that he comes in with a lot of energy and he puts it on the, you know what I mean? He puts it on film as well, you know, just understanding how long he is and how, you know what I'm saying, how much experience he has. He knows what position to be in. He knows how to make the plays that he makes, and I'm happy to have him.
Feels like he's a loose guy, a guy who keeps you guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he keeps it going, man. He keep the energy flowing, man, and that's all you can ask for from a guy. You know what I'm saying? Like Brent, man, he's a infectious energy guy, and he keeps that inside group, you know what I'm saying, lively, man, and hyped up, and so I love it. I love to see it.
Thank you, Khalil.
Thanks, Khalil.
Hey, Alan, I got a question about David Montgomery. Just Coach Nagy was talking about how he's grown as a leader, maybe more in his actions, but have you seen some things behind the scenes as far as what he's done, to grow as a leader, and how have you seen him, just grow as a running back this year overall?
Yeah, well, I mean, David's been the same guy since day one. He's a guy who brings it every day, high energy, everything, practices hard, things like that. But it's tough to say as a running back. I just know, for him, I mean, he comes to work each and every day, and I think that as a player in this league, when you continue to have consistency with that, when you continue to find consistency with yourself, that's when you continue to start stacking games together and things like that. And he's doing that right now, and he's playing at a very high level.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Alan, I'm curious, have you seen Mitch be more assertive this year? And if so, kind of in what situations?
Again, that's tough to say. I think for us, everybody's growing, especially with guys that we had here last year. This is another year for us together as a unit, playing together for a lot of guys across the board, like myself, David, Mitchell, JP, to guys up front, So again, I mean, I would say so. But again, I think that's just natural with, as you kind of progress into the league and things like that.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, obviously it's different, with the pandemic and everything, a road game, but going back to Jacksonville, a lot of different guys, but any significance to going back there?
I wouldn't say significance. I'm excited for sure. But, I wouldn't say anything significant at all.
What do you kind of take when you look back at those years and you reflect on what it meant for you as a player? What do you kind of take away from that?
Yeah, I think it helped me grow as a player a lot. Again, I think I went through just some adversity. I won't say a lot of adversity, but going through some adversity as a young player in the league. I think it helped mold to who I am today. How I approach things, and how I'm able to find consistency within myself, and to be able to keep myself playing at a high level, and also try to help the others around me, kind of bring up the level of play.
Chris Emma.
And following up on your what you said about David Montgomery, we've heard so many of your teammates speak so highly about him as the person and the individual that he's been with you guys. What creates that kind of respect with veteran teammates to a young player like that?
Definitely, I think the first things first is the work ethic. I think when guys come out there to work each and every day and continue to try to get better, I think that's noticeable across the board. Again, I think that the biggest thing in the league is, you're gonna get out what you put in. So if you take this thing serious, again, each and every day, you come to work, you try to continue to get better, and you want to get better, you start to find success. I think that guys definitely notice that, and they notice that early on for guys when they're first coming to the league.
Dan Wiederer.
Alan, the opportunity to reach the postseason is still out there for you. There's 2 games left. I'm curious what excites you about the opportunity is these last 2 weeks, and what gives you confidence in this group's readiness to kind of take on these next 10 days the way they should?
Yeah, I think I've said it since day one. In this league, you want to be playing meaningful football right now. And I think that's the opportunity that we have in front of us. I think that there's not too many teams right now across the board that still have opportunity to put themselves in a position to be able to play, in January. So for us, we had the opportunity, and I think for us, no matter what has happened this season, I think in the locker room, guys have held their composure. Guys have tried to get better. Guys have tried to do everything necessary to be able to put ourselves in this position and to continue to want to get better. I think that we understand the position that we're in. We had lost 6 in a row. Then we come back and win a couple games, so for us, we still kind of have that feeling, where again, we know how I feel to lose 6 in a row, and we also know how I feel to, play together, play cohesive football, everybody pick up their level of play, play complementary football as well. So again, we have that feeling, and we know what we're capable of.
Mike Berman.
Alan, how would you describe the way the offense is functioning and clicking right now? How's it feeling?
Efficient. I think efficiency again on first and second down. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed over the past couple of weeks is that we're able to get into some second and shorts. We're able to create first downs on first down. And I think that's huge for us. We're not getting into as many third down situations. We're able to get some chunk plays as well on first and second down. So again, I think across the board now we're playing well in all facets and all phases of football. We're capitalizing on opportunity in the red zone. Even as far as small things as when we do get the ball, if we have to punt, like last game, I think we started to drive at like the 35-yard line, the 40-yard line. So even having a punt on that drive, we're able to help our defense out and pin the opposing offense back. So I think to all facets of football right now on the offensive side, we've picked up our level of play and we're playing well at this point.
Is there a different feeling now when you guys walk onto the field and get in the huddle versus earlier in the year in terms of the confidence you guys have that you're going to take the ball and potentially find the end zone?
Oh yeah, I would say somewhat. I think that when you play a lot of football in this league, again, that's the confidence that you have to have, on each and every possession and each and every down. So I wouldn't say that we got away from the confidence too much. Again, I don't think that it all was we weren't playing our best football. So I think right now, we are playing our best football and we're executing extremely well.
A couple more for Alan. Mark Grody.
Alan, is this the best or most comfortable you've ever seen Mitchell Trubisky as a quarterback for the Bears?
Again, that's tough to say. I think he's playing very good football right now. As far as his comfort level and confidence level, you'll have to ask him. But I think just from being his teammate, again, he's playing extremely well. Again, like I said before, he's making a lot of throws. He's keeping us ahead of the chains. We're getting first downs on first down. We're creating explosives. So right now we're playing well. We got to just continue to stay at this rate and continue to stay locked in and focus in on the efficiency that we've had over the past couple of weeks.
JJ.
Hey, Alan, I want to ask you about in 2016 when you were in Jacksonville. You guys were on a 9-game losing streak going into Week 16 against a team in Tennessee that was shooting to make the playoffs. Wound up winning that game by 21 points, and I think you had 140-something yards. Being on the other side of that, now that you kind of are here in Chicago, do you relay any messages that you remember from that game and just how you prepared for that game to your teammates about, hey, about taking a team like the Jaguars seriously in this game?
Yeah, again, each and every week in this league, we take teams serious. So when it comes to that, again, I don't try to speak too much on, hindsight and things like that. At the end of the day, we know that it's a team that's gonna come in, that's gonna come out and play hard. They play hard and physical. You can obviously tell that on tape. They have a lot of guys who love to play the game clearly. So right now for us, it's just focusing on how can we, be able to be efficient, play well, play complementary football, play our style of play. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter about, that we got to make sure that we come out and play hard. Right now we're fighting to get into the playoffs. So, we gotta take each game, and play as hard as we can. I think everybody knows that.
Last one, Pat.
Alan, what would the playoffs mean to you personally? You've played in one playoff game in your career. And also, I'm sure you hear this from fans or on social media, it's the 7th spot, it's created this year, maybe trying to denigrate a playoff spot, but I imagine it would mean something pretty special to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, always get into the playoffs. Like I said before, I mean, anybody in the league, when you start at the beginning of the season, you want to be able to say that you play meaningful football when it comes to December, again, which we have a chance to do. So always get into the playoffs. That's the first step. Again, I mean, for us, the first step obviously is trying to win a division, which we weren't able to do this year. But at the end of the day, our next goal is obviously getting to the playoffs, to have a shot at competing for the Super Bowl. So again, right now, that's our main focus, but still taking it one week at a time. Again, we have an opponent coming up that plays hard and physical. So again, I think everybody knows that, so I like where we're at as a team. I like where we're at, mentally as a team.
Thanks for your time, Alan.
Appreciate it.
I want to take this time to say thank you so very much for watching the Rewind Sports 60 channel. All sports, all day, encore presentation, and much, much more. Thank you so very much for your continuous support. Continue to watch, continue to support. Stay safe, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day, and may God bless you. Now, back to the Rewind Sports 60 channel.
Clarkism, Wisdom Wednesday by the creative thought scientist. Wherever you find yourself at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there. In other words, you are where you are because of you. Appointment made. Go get it. I'm your guy, D. Clark, motivated and blessed. Soak it up. I am.
Relax. Reset. Rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. WCPT. WCPT.
This the coldest boys show. You were getting the hour from 6 p.m. to 7. Chillin' with Lauren Cox and the man Marvelous. Shout out to Mr. Rouse and the Italian style. You sports is the only politic.
WCPT. WCPT. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse.
Welcome everybody to the Rewind Sports 60. We are broadcasting live from 8:20 a.m. in Chicago on a Bears winning weekend. So excited. We are playoff bound, potentially, for the fastest hour in sports conversation. Guys, give us a call. Join us. I know you all have some thoughts about the game and the Bears season in general, which has just been absolutely insane. Give us a call at 773-763-9278 on our Bears post-game show. I'm your host, Lauren Cox, here with my esteemed panel, Dan Marver, the marvelous one, and the amazing Jerry Riles. Can you believe it, guys? Ooh. We are actually playoff bound. Potentially, our playoff hopes are alive. The Bears did their thing today. They beat the Vikings 33-27 for a must-win game. And everybody pretty much did a good job. I mean, you know, we're pumped. We're pumped. So, Dan, I want to get right to it and talk to you and kind of really understand what were your key takeaways from this game today.
Thanks, Lauren. I was mentioning last week that
it was surprising because 2 weeks ago we were going to burn down Hallis Hall.
Yes.
And fire everybody.
Get rid of everybody.
Right. So I mean, to me, it's like, how come they didn't figure this out earlier?
True. That's a question that a lot of people have been asking.
And they actually looked pretty good. I mean, I thought maybe they were going to revert a little bit on that interception in the end zone towards the end of the game, and they might have another letdown at the end. But they managed to win, and now they're back to 500, and they're giving us that pie in the sky hope.
Hey, you gotta believe, Dan.
I know. In fact, if Arizona loses or had a touchdown right now against the Eagles, if they were happen to win, the Philly wins, and the Bears actually are in the 7th spot. Now they have 7 spots this year in the NFL playoffs, so they'd get the number 2 seed in the first round, which might not be any picnic.
Right.
The Saints, Packers, what have you. So
anybody but the Packers.
Yeah. So. They go to Jacksonville, who's not playing that well, and then finish with the Packers. So I mean, it's possible they could be 8-8. I don't see 9-7. 8-8 might not cut it either. So we'll see what happens. But they looked awfully good for the most part today. The defense was carrying them in the games that they won with smoke and mirrors early in the season. But now they have offense, and finally they got Jerry's running game going.
Yes. And speaking of Jerry, I know you had some good news on the NCAA front, and you got some good news on the Bears front. They're listening to the show, Jerry. They're listening to the show because you've been. Absolutely. I know you had a great weekend all the way around.
I'm feeling good, Lauren. I'm feeling good. How about them Buckeyes? You gotta love them. The Ohio State Buckeyes, once again, walk home with the brass, walk home with the trophy. Well, they didn't necessarily walk home. They drove back to Columbus with the Big Ten title under their belt for the 4th straight time. The 4th straight time. I think they need to change the name of the Big Ten title championship game played in Nat City, Indianapolis. I think they need to call it the Ohio State Buckeye Trophy. I think they need to call it the Ohio State Buckeye Tournament because we own it, ladies and gentlemen. We own it. Now, of course, kudos to Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern Wildcats. What a showing. Let me tell you something. I was a little bit nervous, Lauren. I was a little bit nervous. Just a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
It
was painful.
Well, maybe just a little bit.
We are Northwestern.
It's kind of like your big brother, touring with the little brother and giving the little brother confidence, and you push him around and knock him around. Then you gotta take care of business.
Until they brought Sermon out.
Congratulations to that young man. Wow. He went nuts. Congratulations to him. The running game was definitely intact. Sets a tournament record for the most yards ever gained in a championship game. Congratulations. Unbelievable. But, Lauren?
Yes.
Congratulations to the Chicago Bears. And here's the deal. You know what? Take your arm like this. Stick your arm up like that. Stick it up. Bend it like that. And then just go like this. Go ahead. There you go.
Yes.
Marvelous. Go ahead.
Stick your arm up like this. Go ahead.
Do like this. Go ahead.
Oh, we're patting ourselves on the back?
Oh, yeah, no question about it. Because the Chicago, and the reason we're patting ourselves on the back, Lauren and Marvelous, is I truly believe that the Bears organization, whether it's Matt Nagy, I don't think Ryan Pace is listening. I don't think he's listening at all. But I think Matt Nagy might be listening. I think someone in that front office is listening to the best damn sports show in the city of Chicago. That, of course, the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM every Sunday night at 6 p.m. The fastest hour in sports conversation. I believe someone up there is listening. Because every time we talk about this team, remember we said they need to have some pride. They need to play some freaking football, get back to fundamentals.
We said they need energy.
Yeah. Matt Nagy repeated that in his presser the following week. Last week we said, hey, it's a black and blue division. This is December. Run the freaking football.
We've been saying
And congratulations. And now, we can't say Matt Nagy made the call. Give congratulations to Bill Lazor, who's calling the plays.
Absolutely.
Because he said, hey, wait a minute. We drafted this kid. 73 pick overall for the Chicago Bears a couple of years ago? Last year? They'd say, hey, listen, this is the running back we want. We got rid of Jordan Howard. This is the guy we want. And all season long, everyone's been crying and complaining, hey, why don't you run the rock? Why don't you run the rock? Well, today, they listened, And the congratulations to the kid, career highs with 32 carries in the game for 146 yards on the ground. Congratulations to a dominant runner. Congratulations to David Montgomery. And I got to tell you, the Minnesota Vikings and Dalvin Cook say, hey, look, we got a running back. The Bears say, hey, you know what?
We got one too.
Y'all got one? We got one too. We'll up your running back. And our running back came and showed his tail today. So congratulations to the Chicago Bears. And they're looking good. They're looking good. But here's the deal. And Marver said this. Marver said, Lauren, I'm kind of leery about the playoff push. And the reason I'm kind of leery about the playoff push is because here we go, is the fact that, and no disrespect to these guys, but, you know, to me, it's time to move forward. But and it's very, very the margin of this team squeezing into the playoffs is very, very thin. But the reason I'm not on the bandwagon as far as calling playoffs are concerned regarding this football team is the fact that it's going to say Matt Nagy say, hey, you know what? I told you this team could bounce back. I told you we can do it. Ryan Pace is going to say, I told you my draft picks can get it done. Yeah, it was COVID. It was COVID that did that 6-game losing skid. It was COVID. Exactly. And so then we have to, all offseason, we got to deal with them saying, hey, it wasn't us. We just had to deal with the situation that we were faced with by limited practices and shutting down the facilities and having to adjust this way and all this stuff. And see, we still had a positive record and we went to the playoffs. So our jobs are intact. That's why I'm not looking forward to a playoff, because it's going to be business as usual in 2021 or 2022, depending. And they're going to pat themselves on the back and say, hey, look, we know what we're doing up here.
Jerry, why would you put that in the atmosphere?
I'm sorry.
And why would you be so negative to
Am I
say
negative?
that? Yes. Hey, let's just...
I'm sorry. Let's just embrace it.
And let's embrace it and let's say that these are business
Was that
people.
negative?
That was very negative.
I'm sorry.
You just totally you're trying to mess up the evening.
Really?
And I'm not going to let you do it.
God bless you.
Because
That's
you know,
it.
These are business people. They're smart. They know that everything has to be changed next year. I don't care what we do now. It does not make up for the 6-game slide and all of the treachery that was at the beginning of the season. So
Jeez, treachery.
You know, we
Oh,
can't. No, I cannot under any circumstances allow my mind to even go there and
I
think
love that.
you know, when we make the playoffs and, you know, when we do well, that means business as usual. No, absolutely not.
You're the boss.
No.
Drive the bus. Let's go.
We're not standing for that.
Okay.
They're out. Mitch, even though he's played really well, and, you know, I definitely want to get into that in terms of, you know, he seems to be, this might have been his best game. I mean, he definitely did his thing today, but him, Nagy, Pace, they all got to go. So, Dan, let's talk a little bit about Mitch.
Mitch might be motivated now.
Yeah,
You know
something happened. What happened?
Yeah, because he's not going to come back to the Bears. he's motivated. He's motivated to show that he's going to get go with another team possibly.
Right. Definitely.
So I mean, maybe that's what he's thinking about. But he does give that element, of course, of a little bit of moving the pocket, which you know, Foles doesn't have. And for whatever reason, the line seems okay. You know, with Mustapha at center, Whitehair, Leno, Bars, and Afidi. That group. Either the opponents weren't able to do their job, but or our line did theirs, because it looked pretty good all the way around. Yeah.
No, I think the offensive. Yeah, I think the offensive line. They're coming into their own, so to speak. But it was a blessing for this team. I'm being positive, okay? Yes. It was a blessing for this team to face the Houston Texans last week and, of course, the Minnesota Vikings this week, because it's something that they needed, a new formula and to get that bad taste out of their mouth. Of course, the 6-game losing skid. So those two opponents were something that the Bears certainly needed as far as confidence was concerned. The offensive line finally get an opportunity to work together in a cohesive manner and learn each other's technique and their styles and where they want to go and where they want to be. And the fact that Cody Whitehair was moved to the guard position, he was much more effective. So, and he, in my opinion, I truly believe he is the leader of that offensive line, and he showed his aggressive style of play this game against the Minnesota Vikings. And of course, again, controlling the line of scrimmage. That's obviously an old cliche, an old term. The game is won in the trenches. And our offensive line today Lauren, Marvelous, I think they get I think maybe we want to give them a solid B.
Okay.
I think we want to give them a solid B for the simple fact that they were able to do their job. I don't even think any of them were penalized. Did we get any penalties on the offensive side of the ball? Any holding penalties? I can't even recall. We can probably look up that. But I don't recall any penalties on the offensive side of the ball as far as the offensive line is concerned. And the fact that they were able to manhandle the Vikings defense, their front line. And again, career yardage for this running back in David Montgomery. You got to tip your hat to what the Bears were able to do all week long in preparing for this team, and the fact that the offensive line did a pretty decent job.
I want to talk a little bit about the O-line changes, and they really started after the bye week. They inserted Mustafa at center, Bars at the right guard. You talked about moving Cody to the left guard, and they kicked Fetty out to the right tackle. So they've been having success. Obviously, the teams haven't been, the most stellar teams, but they have had success with these changes. And it kind of goes back to the point that Dan talked about earlier. Why are we just now making these changes? Are we more in a situation where we're just happy and glad that they did? Or are you more so, what took you so long? What happened? Is it Bill? Is it what changed in terms of the coaching and the play calling, which was a huge sore spot for us?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the first week that Laser was calling the plays, the results weren't that good. But since then, yes. I mean, yeah, by the way, they only had in the whole game, they only had one penalty.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was holding or what. It was a 5-yard penalty. And
that was a delay of game.
Delay of game, right? So
yeah, it was a delay of game because the clock and
right.
The officials, they had some problems there too because there was a delay of game in the red zone, and Mitchell Trubisky is trying to tell the officials to look at the clock because they didn't reset the clock, and of course they called the Bears for a delay of game and pushed the ball back 5 yards to the 7-yard line. So
that's amazing. They had no penalties. Really, for holding or anything else.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about the Bears as far as the coaching overall over the past few weeks, Lauren and Marvelous, is the fact that the discipline. They've gotten back to, in my opinion, from what I've been able to see, they've gotten more disciplined and gotten back to the fundamentals of playing football. Hence, you see one penalty in a football game that they really didn't create. It was the officials who created that penalty. So that's a lot of discipline, and that's some good hard work that the Bears are putting in during the week, during practice, and it reflected and showed on Sunday in this game.
Right.
Is it more so that, or I kind of want to dig deeper into the coaching conversation because it seems as if they're playing more to the players' talent and their skill set versus Nagy just thinking he's the guru and he got 40,000 plays and, we're going to run these plays. What shift was it? Well, was it just Nagy humbling himself? Everything else didn't work. So how sometimes when you get desperate, you get more creative and you just let it go and let it fly. And then you're able to have more possibility and creativity in terms of what you're doing. Talk to me a little bit more about these coaching changes and what difference that's made in terms of us winning.
The amazing thing is that they are using some plays that have worked against them. I mean, some of the Rams plays I noticed, it's very similar plays to what the Rams were beating them with, when they played them a little while back.
Okay.
So, you gotta switch it up. Obviously, if you're too predictable, you're going to be stopped. So, I think that they had a good assortment of plays instead of being predictable. I think that helps. And I think it took a week or two with Laser being in there for things to start to gel, it looked like to me.
Well, I think when Laser officially took over in public and on, from telling us,
right.
I truly believe when we joked about it that first week, that Matt Nagy said, okay, I'm handing over the play calling duties to Bill Laser. Okay, Bill, here are the plays.
Exactly.
Call these plays. And Bill Laser called the plays.
They
didn't work.
They were Nagy's plays.
They're Nagy's plays.
Yeah.
And so it looked like, hey, wait a minute, if you got him calling the plays, yet we're not seeing any production, something's wrong. So again, the red flag was there and the truth came out. I think you used the word humble. I think Matt Nagy was humbled, not only by the record, not only by the fan base, not only by maybe some of the players, but I think the coaching staff and I think George McCaskey, they looked at the film, they observed everything and say, wait a minute, this isn't working. They're not working. And maybe some outsiders talk to them and say, hey, listen, you don't have the impact caliber players like Kansas City does to run the plays that you've drawn up. Yeah, these are fabulous plays. But if you don't have the personnel to execute these plays, this is the results that you're going to have. A 6-game losing streak.
And you about to lose your job.
Bingo. And I think that Matt Nagy was humbled. I think he listened. He finally showed some signs of a true leader. And a true leader owns it, takes responsibility, and put the right people in place to get them from point A to point B if they cannot do it themselves. And I think Matt Nagy learned that as a young coach, head coach in the National Football League, and God bless him, I think Bill Lazor said, hey, wait, you know what? Mitchell Trubisky isn't Patrick Mahomes. Mitchell Trubisky is not Deshaun Watson. Mitchell Trubisky is not Lamar Jackson. He's not Kyler Murray. He's none of these players, but he is an effective player. He can be an effective player if we utilize him properly. And I think the play calling is, and I joked about this early in the season, that you could have played quarterback, you could have played quarterback marvelous, I could have played quarterback, Devin could have played quarterback, Nick could have played quarterback. Because the only thing you have to do in the system now is just say, okay, take this, and I'm going to throw it to you like that. Lauren, I'm going to throw this ball to you over there. And that's all you have to do. If you look at 2 touchdowns last week in that Texas game, right? They were touchdowns, and I'm being positive. I'm being positive. I'm getting the energy. I'm getting the flow. I'm being positive. But I'm being real, too. And that's what the Rewind Sports 60 is about. Real sports, real talk, just plain real. 2 of the balls that he threw for touchdowns, one of them was Mooney to the outside. Could have been an 11-yarder where he dived at the goal line and hit the cone. It was like the ball was like fluttering. It wasn't a sharp pass. It was fluttering. I think he threw one in the middle of the field as well last week. They were fluttering balls. They were touchdowns, but they were fluttering. The plays that Lazor is calling now for Mitchell Trubisky are designed really not to screw up.
Right.
Just to be safe.
Putting them in a position.
And the important thing is, Lauren, here's what we're missing. The Bears ran the ball today more times than they threw the ball. They ran the ball more times today than they threw the ball, which is...
That's what we wanted.
That's Bear football.
But my question is, Cordell, went down, so they were forced to run this much, because we've talked about this ad nauseum in terms of, they let him run the first half. Okay, we're thinking, we would love to see late 20s. He was actually 32 in carries today. So, he has never gotten to that point, obviously. Was it the fact that Cordell went down and they didn't have a choice?
No.
Or you think now they're just... they're sold on the run game.
I don't think they're sold on the run game, but I think they believe that the run game is the right game.
Yeah.
I think last week they saw what this boy could do with the rock when they gave him the first time and he bust 80 yards. He bust 80 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
He only had 10 carries after that for 113 yards. Something was wrong there, and they say, hey, we got to utilize this guy. Now, I think if Cordell Patterson was 100%, the carries may have all set each other, but I think the Bears' game plan going into this was to pound the rock. I really believe that was the case.
Montgomery carried 32 times for 146 yards. As a team, they had 199 rushing yards. And as a correction, they did have 4 penalties for 36 yards. It was the Minnesota that had 1 penalty for 5.
Are you sure?
Yeah, so it says in the stats.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, at any rate, Lauren, let's go out to the phone lines real quick. Let's go out to Tommy, who's calling from somewhere in Chicago. Tommy, welcome to the Rewind Sports 60. It's Jerry Riles, Lauren Cox, the Marvelous One, Dan Marver. How are you?
Well, first of all, guys, I heard your last comment there, and you said, let's go to the phones and Let's talk to Tommy. He's calling from somewhere. I'd like to let you know that somewhere is they're releasing me from the mental institution because watching this mess has gotten me into just a nervous wreck. It's gotten so bad that drinking and stuff and watching the Bears is just it's just the epitome of what's gonna happen next. Guys, let me just break this down quickly and get off of the air for you. One, Mitchell Trubisky had his game completely snatched away from him. They took a kid who had the ability to move the pocket and throw the ball on the run and made him a pocket passer. Two, the NFL game is all of it. You have to be able to run. You have to be able to pass because the days of the stone-cold iron wall of individuals making clear blocks and the speed of linebackers and the whereabouts of guys dialing in for picking off is upon us. So let me just simply close like this. What in hell did you expect the Bears were supposed to do when nobody's got nothing to lose but their job, all for the love of stealing money? Goodbye.
Tommy, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, this has been a roller coaster season. We come in here, we're happy, we're down, we're sad, we're indifferent, we're pissed. I mean, the emotions have been all over the place being a Bears fan this year. And, it just keeps coming. Every week it's just a wrinkle and another turn. So I hear you. I hear you.
I don't know about you guys, but it has been emotional. And I'm not really an emotional guy. I can show emotion.
I've seen you get emotional.
I can show emotion, but I don't really.
The Bears will take you there.
Listen to me. Yes, they certainly will take you there. I was gonna come in today and have Devin have the time clock tick 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 tick, right? I was gonna have Devin load up a like a bowling ball sound effects, bowling ball rolling, and then I was gonna have him cue up an explosion.
Oh gosh!
And the reason I was gonna have that, Lauren and Marvelous, is the simple fact that the last play of the game.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. I told my buddy, Henry Hackney, you listening, brother? We love you, man. But he texts me and he goes, hey, the Bears going. I go, no. Mitchell Trubisky's going to choke this off. He's either going to throw an interception or he's going to fumble this game away. And I swear to you, Marvelous.
Wow. You are negative.
No, he threw an interception, Lauren.
I know, but you don't need to be thinking that like you.
Lauren, he threw it. So that last play of the game.
It's a Hail Mary, right?
I was nervous.
Yeah, it was a good effort.
It was a very good effort. It was, and kudos to Eddie Jackson. I don't know where he was the entire game. I really don't know where he was. I think he was in the stands eating popcorn and drinking a Dr. Pepper. I don't know where he was, but he showed up the last play of the game, and he deflected the pass. But I was really nervous. That's what this Bears football team has done personally to me this season. I told you the other week I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
I wanted to cry because the emotions of watching this football team for 3.5 hours on a Sunday afternoon, they drive you nuts.
Absolutely.
They drive you nuts. And so I understand what Tommy is talking about. Yeah. I really do. So it's just been very difficult to watch this team. Yeah. And you want to pull for your team, but it's very it's tough.
Took us there.
I don't drink anymore, Lauren, but there are times they drive me to want to crack open a Pabst Blue Ribbon, a PBR.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not an emotional guy. I show emotion, but I'm not an emotional guy.
Okay.
But we got an emotional guy on our phone line. Oh, we love him. And he's happy as can be. He's not hanging out with the Colonel, Richard Dent, or Mama's boy, Otis Wilson, but he is hanging out with the best damn sports show in the city of Chicago, especially on Sunday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WCPT 820 a.m. He is the great number 51 in your programs. He's number 1 in our hearts. He is outside linebacker Bruce Herron on our TR60 hotline. What's up, Bruce? How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. How you guys doing?
Great, Bruce.
We're doing good on a Bears winning Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, I'm hearing some complaints, and I don't understand the complaints. I mean, the Bears played a hell of a game today. finally, there was something that was said by one of you in the conversation you guys have just been having about Nagy taking his game plan and adjusting his game plan to the talent that he has. And that's been a problem all season long. He's tried to make it Trubisky fit into a system that he's not capable of fitting into. He did the same thing with Foles. Foles may have been able to do that 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, but today he can't do that. So he got a little wise. I think the heat was on him to do something. So he adjusted his offensive system to the talent that he has at hand, and that was a very smart move. And that's what you saw today. That's why they had success today. I mean, Trubisky threw 1 or 2 bad passes, but the worst one he threw was that interception in the end zone at the end. But prior to that, he had a really good game. Had a really, really good game. And the best thing that he did all day was hand the ball off to Montgomery. Let that kid just run. Let him run. Use those big offensive linemen to open up some holes. And they don't have to open up big holes. Just open up a little bit. Let him just do his thing. And he did that. So I was happy with that today.
We were happy too, Bruce. Lauren here. So we want to talk a bit about the offense. How are you? They did their thing today. Of course, we talked about Montgomery in the run game. Robinson, back-to-back 1,000-yard season. And Cole Kmet, friend of the show. He's starting to do his thing. He had 12 yards today, 2 receptions. So we had him on the show earlier when he first got drafted. And we pretty much gave it to him and let him know what we expected, our expectations being Bears fans. Devin, do you have that clip? And he got it. He got it. So I want you to listen to this clip and then tell us a bit about the offense and what they did today.
Yeah, 2 more Itais Gould.
Field goal.
He's for the record, yeah.
He's responsible for 15 points in this Bears victory. So, I mean, he is, and here's the deal. It's about, in my opinion, it's getting a second opportunity. And this kid Santos, it was kind of tough his first time around. He had an opportunity to dance around the league and kind of find himself. Maturity goes a long way, and of course we're reaping the benefits of that this season. Things happen in mysterious ways. Eddie Pinheiro, he battled for the job last year. Friend of the program here at the Rewind Sports 60. He goes down with the groin injury, and of course the rest is history. So congratulations. And I was calling him Sierra Santos, but Cairo Santos, he's getting the job done. But I got to go back on something, Lauren and Bruce. And I don't know if Marvelous agrees with that, but hang on here. Help me out here, because I'm trying to be positive. Lauren is helping me out. I'm trying to be positive. I really am trying to be positive. Help me out here. Help me out, Bruce.
We need a collective positivity.
Yeah, you gotta every week you guys have to talk me off the ledge. You gotta help me with this one. Did I just hear you two say, and I don't know if Marvelous agreed with this or said it, but did I just hear you two say that we can win with this offense?
Yeah.
Sure. We can.
Why?
Because we got the offense has talent. They've got wide receivers. They've shifted the offensive linemen around, and I think today and last week, you see that the offensive linemen have actually shown up. We can win with this offense. Absolutely.
Depends who we're playing.
We're putting up 30 points per game. Hey, all we need to do is win next week, which we're going to win next week. And then, hopefully Green Bay rests everybody. And then we win that week. And we're in the playoffs. So then, once we get in the playoffs, we'll take it from there. But let's get in the playoffs first.
Bruce, as a player, I understand. That's your end goal. When you start the season, the end goal is to get to the Super Bowl. But the first road is to win the division, get into the playoffs, and then win your playoff games, win the conference championship, and then move yourself toward the Super Bowl. I get all that, but and that's from a player's perspective. But from a pedestrian perspective, a layperson perspective, watching from the sidelines, this Bears team, is that really something that you want for this team to get to the playoffs? And Lauren makes a very valid point. They could beat Jacksonville next week on the road because that team, they're terrible. And they could actually win the Green Bay game if Green Bay has the bye week already wrapped up and they only played their players like a preseason game, only the first half, and then bring on, everyone else. The way this team is playing, the Bears could walk away with the next two victories and possibly have an opportunity to advance to the playoffs, of course. So do you really want that as a layperson for this team? And we always talked about the smoke and mirrors. Do we want this from this team to make the playoffs? Because they're going to sell it to us that, hey, we got the personnel, we got the coaches, we got the front office, we got everything in place. It was the pandemic. It was COVID that got in our way. We're better than what you see. Is that something that we really want to look forward to?
You know what? You always want to get to the playoffs. I don't care if you get there by winning the division, if you get there by having the best record in the NFL, or if you get there as a wild card, the last team to enter the playoffs. You want to get to the playoffs because anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything. So you always want to get to the playoffs. And the only thing that's going to help any team that doesn't get to the playoffs is they have a better position on the draft board. And how many mistakes do these teams make year in and year out by drafting their number one guy? I mean, how many first round draft picks have there been that have been flops? So it doesn't, that's no sure thing. That's no sure thing. There are more second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, seventh round draft picks playing in the NFL than there are first round draft picks.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, it's always good to get a top draft pick. I mean, because those are skilled players at a skilled position. They're athletes and they're very talented, and that's why they go as high as they go. But you're absolutely right. Not all, top draft picks pan out to be, the top caliber individuals that you expect them to be on the next level. Hence, just look at Marcus Mariota and, of course, Jameis Winston. Those are two high caliber athletes on the collegiate level. As far as the National Football League is concerned, they're, and we use the word again, pedestrian. I mean, it's, they haven't had the bust out, career that you expected them to have. So I totally agree with you on that. And I got to say this. We do, and we're on with the great Bruce Herring, number 51, former Chicago Bear outside linebacker, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60 with the weekly breakdown of the Chicago Bears. The Bears knock off the Minnesota Vikings by a score of 33-27. I do have to say this, though. As much as we've been bashing and beating up Ryan Pace, the Bears general manager, his class of rookies this year, they've done pretty good. I mean, for the most part. Now, Jalen Johnson didn't play because of the shoulder injury, and that was suspect in drafting him because he had 3 shoulder injuries or shoulder surgeries in 4 years. So that was kind of suspect. But as far as his play on the field, he's been lights out. And then, of course, Mooney on the offensive side of the ball, the kid is phenomenal. He's a small kid, but he is phenomenal. So Ryan Pace has done halfway decent as far as his picks on the this recent draft class that he has, man. What are your thoughts as far as what his situation looks like based on what the performances he's seen on and they talk about Cole Kmet. I mean, they when they're used, they're effective.
Yeah, you know what my position is that you mentioned Mariota and Jameis Winston. I mean, they're quarterbacks in the league that go to teams, and teams have it like I was saying earlier. They have a system. They draft the quarterback. They want to make the quarterback fit the system, rather than creating a system to fit the talent of the quarterback. And there are some guys that can make the adjustment. There are other guys that can't. And they figured out that, Trubisky is not a drop back passer. I mean, you got to You got to do some other things with the kids. You got to roll them out. You got to, you got to let them move around the pocket. You even got to let them run. I mean, call some running plays for the quarterback. And so all of that plays into whether guys are successful or not. Guys, top tier guys coming out of college, they're picking up, got guys that are top 10 picks. They go to a team that they don't utilize him properly with the talent that he has, then he's not going to be successful. He's not going to be successful. But then the guy will turn around and go to another team and become an all-pro. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Look at Richard Dent. Richard Dent was an eighth round draft pick out of Tennessee State. Man.
And
Richard Dent he's one of the most ferocious damn defensive ends, pass rushers in the history of the league. He was
a Super Bowl MVP.
Absolutely. And Hall of Famer. Eighth round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to do with the team having a system. You draft players if you're going to draft players, you draft players that's going to fit your system. Don't draft players because they're the best at what they do.
Bruce, I wanted to ask you a bit about the defense. 3 sacks today, coming off of 7 last week. They were able to frustrate Cousins a bit. There were some injuries in the secondary as well, but they're giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards. Of course, Mack is hobbled. Talk to me about the defense. And, we've had basically the same personnel as the 2018 defense, but the production has been drastically different. What's the difference with the defense in your eyes? And what are your thoughts in terms of moving forward, looking to the games ahead? What do they need to do to get more production?
I tell you what, I watched Eddie Jackson today. I mean, I saw Eddie Jackson on one particular play. I mean, he looked like he wanted nothing to do with playing football today.
I told you that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Hey, Bruce. See, you're a student of the game just like I am. You got that keen eye for football. No, but I seriously, I was joking. I said, I didn't know where Eddie Jackson was. It looked like he was in the stands eating popcorn and drinking Dr. Pepper until the last play of the game when he made the deflection on the alley-oop or the Hail Mary. But Lauren, she brings up a great point.
Even that play at the last play of the game, that Hail Mary, he tried to knock the ball down. He tipped it in the air, and luckily, one of the Vikings players didn't catch the ball. It was finally intercepted, but damn, I mean, he didn't even do that damn right. He's supposed to knock the damn ball instead of knocking it in the damn air. I don't know, man. I tell you what, I've seen Eddie Jackson play the last. It's been quite a few games this year, man. He's not showing me much today. He didn't want anything to do with playing football today.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if he's hurt or what, but whatever it is, man, somebody needs to talk to that young man.
You know what? It's interesting. Here's the deal. And when I'm watching this football game, and I'm like, where's Eddie Jackson? What's going on with him? What's he doing? Help me out here, right? Because I've never played at that level. I've only dreamed about it, of course, but I've never played at the highest level ever, right? And when you get to that level, it's business. It's fun. It's work. But it's also business, and NFL stands for not for long. Okay, so the smart players find a way to have longevity, which means you're gonna get that paycheck. And this is just me sitting on the couch as a Bear fan, hoping that they win. But is there some hint? And I told you I hate the cliche of they're human too. But in regards to that, is there some hint that some of these players sometimes go, hey, I'm not going to bust my body up. We're getting our brains beat in. I'm not going to get my body beaten up because I want to make sure that I'm equipped enough, whether I'm playing for the Bears or some other team, that I can get another payday. So I'm going to pick and choose, and it's interesting that you bring up Richard Dent because that was one of the negatives about Richard. Some people pointed the finger and said that, you know, the Colonel would take some plays off, right? And, you know, it worked in his favor whether he was, I don't think he was taking any plays off, but that was some of the finger pointing going on with Richard Dent, that he would take some plays off and he wasn't effective every down. But of course, he was a smart player and he knew what he needed to do and he knew when he had to do it. Do some players in the league say, hey, you know what? Hey man, we stink. We like Jacksonville. You ain't won a game or you won one game. I'm not going to go out there and kill myself and possibly end my career. And I'm not going to get paid anymore. Does that ever creep into the mind of these professional athletes playing at the highest level?
No, I mean, if something like that creeps into a guy's mind, he's not going to be around very long. I think that most guys understand that they have to go out and do their job and do it to the best of their abilities, whether you're losing or winning. And just because as a team, you're not winning, you don't go out and just lay down. You know, you have to go out and do your damn job because, you know, this is a professional sport. And other teams and players around the league, you know, they see you. They see what you're doing on the field. And you know what? The worst thing in the world you want is to be labeled lazy, non-caring, lack of effort, not focused, not prepared. You don't want those labels, man, because you get those labels, you won't be in the league very long, period.
Yeah, but Bruce, don't you think there are some players who are they're skilled, they're veterans, and we use the cliche, don't confuse activity with accomplishment. Some guys may be able to, you know, run hard to a position, or they may be able to, you know, fall in on the pile after the tackle has been made to seem as if, hey, I'm being active, but I'm not being productive. And film can tell you all different sorts of things. Of course, it's used as negotiating tactics when you're trying to get that contract. It just seems because Eddie Jackson is a gifted athlete, and we've seen his style of play. The guy is phenomenal. But
yeah, he is.
How do you go MIA in a game until, you know, possibly the last play of the game? It's kind of, you know, puzzling.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. You know, the only thing, and I don't know this to be sure, but my only assumption is that he's injured. I mean, he's playing hurt, and he's doing only what he's doing as much as he can because of his injury. I don't know that to be the case, but I tell you, man. I mean, this year, I mean, Eddie hasn't been playing like he normally has played in the past. I mean, this kid was an All-Pro. Mm-hmm. He's been an All-Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he certainly isn't playing like an All-Pro. I mean, that one particular play that's just locked in my brain. Tight end catches a pass, and he's right there in front of Eddie, and Eddie he don't even try to make the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And then he breaks loose, and then the guy stumbles and he touches him while he's down, but he didn't even make an effort to tackle the guy. I'm saying, man, what? And he's looking right at it.
Yeah.
How can you? I don't get it. I don't know. It baffles me, man. Baffles me.
Bruce, so our playoff hopes are alive. As you know, we're playing the Jags next week. Hopefully we can beat them. And then Green Bay next week, the week after. And then Arizona just beat Philadelphia 33-26. We would like for them to lose one of their last two games. Possibly they're playing San Francisco and then the Rams. What are our chances? What do you think? Will the Bears make the playoffs?
You know what? I think the Bears are playing well enough to win the last two games. But I'm not so sure. It's going to work in our favor. And I say that because Arizona has to win. I take that back. Arizona has to lose a game in order for the Bears to get in if the Bears win out. Going into Green Bay, Green Bay doesn't ever like to lose to the Bears. That's just a rivalry that's been going on for 100 years, and I don't see them laying down and letting the Bears win just because they're the number one seed in the NFC. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game, but I'm not saying the Bears can't do it. I think more than anything else, I think that they have an opportunity to do it. But I don't think the Packers are going to lay down and let the Bears just have it.
No, I don't think they will, Bruce. Right. First of all, I don't know if they're going to be able to clinch the number one seed because they're right there with New Orleans and Seattle. So it might be hard for them to clinch by that date. In addition, you're right. The Packers will never want to lose to the Bears, so I doubt they're going to rest anybody. And I'm also disappointed that Gardner Minshew will be playing for Jacksonville next week instead of Mike Lennon. That hurts our chances.
Well, I tell you what. Did you guys see that the Jets won their first game of the season?
No.
Yeah, man, I don't listen. Let me tell you.
They beat the Rams today.
I know they did. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. If it works for the Bears, it's going to work for me. And that, when I say work, it's the pandemic. Because, Bruce, I do the confidence pool every week. I'm brutal. I can't pick a winner to win that saved my life. I'm brutal. I was in last place, believe it or not. For the first time, I've been playing. Well, I'm not broke because you pay your one lump sum at the beginning, and then you have an opportunity to win every week. But I haven't won. Every year, I've been playing probably 10, 15 years. I've been playing, and I win at least once for sure to make my money back, but I win 2 or 3 times. I've never been in last place. Never. Out of 85 people, I was in last place. It's brutal. It's brutal. This year's been brutal for me, man. Unbelievable.
Out of 85, you're number 85?
Take it easy now, but it's the truth. Well, I was number 85. I climbed up to number 79 now, Bruce. I climbed up to 79.
Hey, man.
It's been brutal.
I tell you what, me and Henry Hackney, we need to find a new friend, man.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Hey, I told you it's COVID, man. It's COVID. I'll be back strong next year for sure, 2021. Hey, man, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We always love chatting with you and catching up and breaking down the Chicago Bears. Win or lose, you're a gem in our eyes for sure. Hey, man. What are your plans as far as the holidays is concerned and Christmas? You got Santa Claus going to be making a big stop at your place on Friday?
Absolutely. Well, I always host the family on Christmas Eve, so all the kids can come over, man, and we just have a big hoorah, and the kids get to open their gifts from Pawpaw, and that's what we're gonna do.
I love it.
Every Christmas Eve, and it's a wonderful day, man. It's a wonderful day. So it's always big fun in a Heron household.
Yeah, I heard that Santa got the vaccine.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, you guys, man.
Merry Christmas, Bruce. To you and yours.
Lauren,
you too.
Lauren, bless you, girl. You know what you got to put up with those guys. My goodness.
Hey.
Oh, she holding down the fort. She keep us in check, man. Hey, Bruce, thank you, brother. Happy holidays to you, and we'll talk to you next Sunday after a Bear victory.
Right. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bruce Heron on our TRS60 hotline. Wow. Well, congratulations. The Bears now 7-7 with a 33-27 victory. Trying to see what's happening with the Arizona Cardinals and, of course,
they won.
The New Orleans Saints. They're trying to hold on, come back against Kansas City.
Yeah, Arizona won. I think we might have the tiebreaker over them, I heard today.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Closing
Collective
thoughts?
Positivity. That's what we need going into our playoff push. Yes. And happy holidays
Merry
to
Christmas,
all listeners.
Thank you to Lauren. You're a godsend. And thank you so very much for the positive energy and to continue to reinforce it here on the Rewind Sports 60. Really, really appreciate it. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. We'll see you next Sunday, of course. Though.
Yes.
All right? And, of course, the marvelous one.
Oh, yeah.
And Devin Tingle. Hey, thank you so very much. Devin, my apologies. You put all this audio together for us, but unfortunately we didn't get a chance to play it, so my apologies. But it's good. The Bears win, so we end on a happy note.
Yes.
For sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the fastest hour in sports conversation. I want to thank you for taking an hour of your time to spend with us on the best sports show in the city of Chicago every Sunday, 6 to 7 p.m. It is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT, 8:20 a.m. Have a fabulous week. Have a safe week. If you're going to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. Yeah. It's up to you. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I wanted to really go off on. But,
boy.
Yeah, oh boy. But hey, check us out every Wednesday, Comcast Access in the Northern Suburbs, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. And, of course, on the RewindSports60.com, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the case may be. We love you guys. Stay safe. Have a very, very safe, sound, and happy Merry Christmas. God bless.
Happy
Take care.
holidays.
Happy holidays. We'll see you next week. Go Bears! 33-27. Chicago Bears. Take care, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast with yours truly, Jerry Riles, and, of course, the sensational, the dynamic, the phenomenal, the most informative, most knowledgeable Dr. Chad Padromas. Doc, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and we're days away from the big day. That, of course, the Christmas holiday season, about a week out, and I know that family members we've been having a lot of gifts delivered to the house with the online shopping and all that stuff. So it's really mounting up. How about on your end?
Yeah, my wife's kind of in charge of the gifts and all that kind of thing. So somebody once told me maybe I shouldn't say this. One of the nice things about being married, you only have to buy gifts for one person. So it's not exactly true. It's my wife, my daughters, but she's kind of in charge of gifts.
It's interesting.
She's good at it.
I'm sorry?
She's good at it.
That's fantastic. They are very good at it, believe me. But it's interesting, as kids growing up, and you're opening up presents on Christmas Day, and, you want the bike, you want the mitt, you want the football, you want all those things, a baseball bat. The girls want the dolls and the doll house and the Susie bake ovens and all that stuff. But, you look around and my dad, he would get socks and underwear for Christmas. And as a kid, you go, what? I don't want to get old because I don't want just socks and underwear for Christmas. Well, once you get older, you appreciate it and understand why.
Yeah, how true. How true.
I'm certainly there. Well, speaking of dads and Christmas and underwear and socks and everything, in locker rooms, they're doing their changings, especially in the college locker room, the atmosphere, and teams are changing, gearing up for conference championships this weekend. And, of course, the final polls will be coming out for the top 4 teams to play for the college football playoffs, which will be taking place on New Year's Day. Of course, the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl. And the 4 teams right now, as of this podcast, looks as if, and not necessarily in this particular order, but Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. We don't know where any of these teams are going to fall, considering, of course, they win their conference championships and they move on and get the Final 4 rankings. But we do know the games are going to be played on New Year's Day. And as far as the Rose Bowl is concerned, I don't know if you heard of this, Doc, but it's blowing up around social media and sports talk, and it's going to be a big topic moving forward, unless some things are changing. But as far as the state of California is concerned, they're saying whatever teams advance to the college football playoffs and play in that semifinal game on New Year's Day, that the teams are welcome to play, of course, in the legendary Rose Bowl, but without any fans. And that stadium, I believe, holds somewhere between 80 and 90,000 spectators on any given day or any given week. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the legislators out there said, no, the teams can come and play. You can bring the broadcast crew, but no fans. And everyone is up in arms regarding this, from one side saying they agree to the other side saying how preposterous this is, how absurd this is. It's ridiculous. And it's all based on COVID-19. Doc, Your thoughts. You have the floor.
Yeah, it's the science has to be respected, and people have to be kept safe, and the virus needs to be dealt with responsibly. And I believe in masks, and I believe in social distancing. However, the damage to society, to the economy, to people from departures from normalcy needs to not be neglected, and there needs to be a compromise come to. And the having a huge stadium with a relatively small number of fans in an outdoor venue require masks poses virtually no risk to anybody. You know, I mean, it's less risk than going to a grocery store, I think. You know, we see these reports all the time of somebody was, you know, said he broke a rule because he was kayaking by himself in the ocean or whatever. And these kinds of one-size-fits-all arbitrary rules are what everybody hates about government and big institutions. So I don't question their motives. I noted that they're halfway to the, I don't know what it is, 1.5 million or so signatures they need to recall Gavin Newsom in California. And it's just keeping people safe and following the science is, I mean, it's what I do. But you just have to be careful. And, you know, maybe as a physician, I'm conscious of this. We're in a position where they talk about doctors' orders, right? And we put restrictions on people for work. We tell people they should take medicines. We don't, you know, command them to do it. And you just have to be very careful if you're in any position sort of authority. I don't mean to be so verbose. I'm just trying to say this in a nice way. There is just no reason for that to be the case. You know, if people in an outdoor venue with masks, with some social distancing, what possible reason can there be to not have people in the stands? There is no science anywhere that backs that up. And, you know, one of the nice things about having a pluralistic society is we do different things in different places. And to my knowledge, the places that allow fans have not seen super spreader events, have not seen any consequences. And boy, it's just very easy when you're a politician to lock people down. And, you know, we've seen example after example, and I won't get into names, but everybody knows who they are, of politicians who have said one thing and then defied their own restrictions, right? And so the short answer is all the science would indicate that with some precautions, fans ought to be in those stands.
Well, you know, part of me said I understand it. Another part said there's no way it should happen. And the reason I mention that is the fact that there are a lot of people out there that say this is the worst thing to do. And of course, the state of California have locked down, you know, the entire state because they want to get a control on this virus and the spread of it. So I understand from their perspective. But one reason Brian Kelly, the head coach for Notre Dame, spoke out on this is the fact that Notre Dame, I believe, from a national perspective, outside looking in, take a different approach to how to handle the spread of this virus. And we saw in the first meeting a few weeks back between Notre Dame and Clemson at Notre Dame, and the game went into overtime. Notre Dame knocks off Clemson. The fans, 20,000 fans in the stands in South Bend, rushed the field and in celebration, mobbing players and you know, not protecting themselves. And there was quite a big stink about that from a national perspective, saying that there was no disregard. They had no disregard, you know, no concern for the virus, no concern for their fellow student bodies. And it was irresponsible for the university and the athletic program to allow these fans not only in the stands, but the opportunity to rush the field to possibly infect people. And I know a lot of fans were punished for that, and I believe they had to go into quarantine. But that's kind of the backlash regarding this, and I think it's part of the decision regarding the state of California, why they looked at it that way, because of the chances that Notre Dame could bring a large group of a fan base
to that venue, and they don't want the spread to happen in any sort of way.
Yeah, but I mean, you can protect against that, right? You can having the fans in the stands and having the fans rush the field are two totally separate events, and you can easily. You see some security people, right? You can keep fans off the field. So probably Notre Dame should have done that. I mean, the truth of the matter is, the risk, of course, is it isn't the risk so much to the people who come onto the field. The argument would be that one young, healthy person gives it to another young, healthy person, and even though they're fine, they give it to their sick grandmother at home. And that's a valid argument. I'll buy that. But although we haven't really seen this happening in these cases, I mean, I'm not aware of what you discussed having resulted in significant problems, but it's a valid argument. And so all you do is just keep some control over the situation, right? Just don't let the people rush the field. Not hard to do. You get security people; they do it all the time. Monica Seles, the tennis player, was stabbed by a deranged fan 20 years ago. I don't know, and
a little longer than that.
Yeah, maybe so. And so they make it so that you really can't rush tennis courts anymore so much. So, I mean, just do that. Let the fans come. Don't have 90,000 fans in there. But, if you have 10,000 fans and have people separated some, wear masks, I don't think you'd have problems. And it's not like we're looking for zero spread of the virus, because we're not getting zero spread of the virus anyway. It's a controlled situation. You don't want to have super spreader events. But if you have people, I'll say it again, you're outdoor, you've got masks, you're socially distanced, it doesn't get any better than that. And then you just prevent them from rushing the field, right? You have chains, you have big, strong security guards. They're not going to be rushing the field. Plus, you tell them, too. I mean, people aren't stupid. And I don't think that people want to bring disrespect to their university. And you just say, everybody, just be aware. And you could absolutely, positively control that. And I realize California is having more cases, but this isn't where you get more cases from. But it's the worst thing about government, the absolute worst thing about it. And it's not just government, it's institutions. It's schools. It's any big institution when they make blanket regulations just because they can. So in this case, they shouldn't. I don't know. Can they? I'm sorry. I know that they had a regulation, and I think it was Santa Clara County, against contact sports for a period of time, which affected the 49ers. And the 49ers, I think, moved a game to Arizona or something like that.
Right,
I don't think this is that. But I don't know. Maybe, why not move it away from the Rose Bowl? Move it someplace else, right? Where they can, because having fans there is a big part of it. And, you generate, people get out. It's good for their psyche. You generate some revenue for some of the concessions, other things there. So, why? People are mentally tortured enough, right? Why torture them even more? So I don't know, Jerry, you're in touch with, a lot of you have inside channels that I don't. I wonder if there's been any talk of moving it out of California.
Yeah, well, there is some speculation that has arisen from that. But part of the problem, obviously, as you well know, it's a contractual situation. So it's not necessarily that simple and that easy just to move from one venue to another. You talk about politics, and that plays an important key role regarding relocating and all of that. At the end of the day, it comes down to the money, and that's the reason why these kids are playing. Despite the fact they're not getting paid, is because of the type of money that's generated from this, major sporting event. And I think part of the reason it's come about is the fact that some are leery that Notre Dame could be that one team that will be playing in California at the Rose Bowl. And many will point at it, critics will point at the finger at the university and say, hey, you guys failed the test already, i.e., again, the upset victory in overtime over Clemson a few weeks back, and how the student bodies, the first of the matter is the fact that you allowed the 20,000 fans into the stadium to watch this game. And then secondly, you weren't able to control them to rush the field So you failed that test, and we don't necessarily want to give you another opportunity to travel from the Midwest out west on a plane, stay in a hotel, come to the venue, interact with the personnel who are there to seat you or guide you or security or whatever. If you've shown us already that you failed that test in following protocol, and they're saying we don't want to run that risk of just one person, if there are 20,000 fans allowed to come in, that may have the symptoms and become a super spreader. And I think that's what they're looking at, Doc.
Yeah, that's kind of harsh, though. I think it's kind of like it's kind of like the prison reform bill, right? So take somebody on a first offense for a drug problem and lock them up, right? People learn from mistakes. So fine, you say to Notre Dame. First of all, the security issue isn't Notre Dame's anyway. Is it at the Rose Bowl? So it's Pasadena's issue, right? So it's their security.
Protect them.
No, of course. What I'm saying is Notre Dame security failed at Notre Dame, but this isn't Notre Dame's security. First of all, people learn from their mistakes. I guess that's what I was trying to say with the drug analogy, right? People make mistakes, they learn from it. So you punish them for the rest of their lives because they made a mistake? I think you learn from it, and it's not even them. So let's just say you don't believe Notre Dame. You think, I don't like Notre Dame. These guys are irresponsible. They're just bad people. I don't like Notre Dame. Okay, fine. But this isn't Notre Dame anyway. This is the city of Pasadena. This is the Rose Bowl Corporation, whatever it is, right? And so, I said it before, I'll say it again. You can absolutely positively keep people off the field, and you do it with your own security. So the fact that Notre Dame failed that test has absolutely nothing to do with them failing that test. Because it wouldn't be them who'd be taking the test. It'd be local people. And keeping people off the field is easy. It's just a matter of money. You just have to hire some security guards, and you have to have the will to do it. So that's easy to keep them off the field. And then, in the stands, yeah.
They don't want the human contact. They don't want the fan base who are in the stands to try the attempt to get on the field and have security have to prevent them from getting there. They're trying to eliminate or reduce the human contact.
Yeah, but where this stuff happens, again, these people are not. Say what you want, and maybe you could argue against, and you probably should, in my opinion, argue against having liquor at the games. Security, getting into a stadium is it's one of the hardest things known to man, right? So liquor, right? So don't allow liquor and such in there. They don't anyway, I don't think, to bring stuff in. Don't sell beer so that people aren't going to be inebriated. And it's not like you're going to have 10,000 barbarians at the gate swinging clubs at security guards. They're not going to try to do that. And then the other thing is, let them know there's repercussions. And again, let them know, hey, this is serious, guys. Anybody who approaches this, we're taking your picture, and you're in big trouble. They're just not going to do it. They're just not. And having them in the stands, distanced, or small groups like they do in restaurants. People are in outdoor restaurants, and are distanced with masks. There's just, I don't say there's no risk, because everything in life has some risk, but there's no more risk in that than in any other activity. And Jerry, as to your other point about athletes being exploited, you're saying because the places make money and that's why they want them to play. So I agree with you. I'm 66 years old, and every year I get more cynical than the year before. And so I absolutely believe in almost every human endeavor, sad to say, follow the money. So I'm sure you're right that the impetus for the schools wanting these kids to play is the money. I'd like to think it's all altruism, and maybe it's that too. Probably it's that too. But having said that, it's good for these kids to play, right? We found out it's not being spread on the football field. And that was what I was talking about last week with the genetic testing. So they're not going to get sick from playing football much. And if they do, they're going to be, I shouldn't say sick, I should say infected. So they're probably not going to get infected. If they do get infected, the chances they're getting sick are minuscule. And I'll tell you, For these kids, it's a chance of a lifetime to play in the Rose Bowl. It's good for these kids to have played in it. It's good for keeping them occupied. These kids are safer. These kids are absolutely safer on the football field than they are left to their own devices in their hometown. They're much likelier to get in trouble there. So while I agree with you that it may well be that the main impetus for this is all about the money from the schools, it also happens that it's really good for the kids. So do you want to punish the kids to punish the schools? I mean, that makes no sense. I think this is a case where it works for everybody. And the kids want to play, and you could argue, well, the kids are young and stupid and they just want to play and they don't know any better. I don't know if they're so young and stupid. And even if they are, saying as an old cynical adult, if it were my son, I'd want him to play, And I know these risks better than anybody, I think, in the field. So it's just, and it's just something else, the governmental thing. So I have huge issues with governments that do this. Right. But I'll tell you something. I don't think any of these people mean badly. The real problem, the real crisis, and the source of virtually all the problems is the clamps that are put on dissemination of information, which results in unwarranted fear. So the people that are doing this are genuinely afraid, and there is fear being spread out of proportion to what the problems are. The problems are horrific. Lots of people die, obviously. But there were recent Senate hearings when, not to digress too far, although this is an important point, there are drugs that exist that are cheap that can be repurposed for COVID-19. I'm intimately aware of this because our research foundation has written 2 of the seminal papers on the subject, systematic reviews, that show that hydroxychloroquine is completely cardiac safe and it's effective used early. But it's very cheap, $15, $20 for a full course of treatment. There's a newer drug, ivermectin. I might have mentioned this last week, but I can't mention it too much. Ivermectin, and there were Senate hearings on this that were, anybody who gets a chance to watch these should, that were held, where some of the smartest people in the world were saying that ivermectin is used for a parasitic infestation called scabies. Ivermectin, very cheap, been used forever, miraculously effective. But they're not being promoted. Why? Because they don't generate profit for people. The things that are being promoted are vaccines, which generate billions of dollars of profit, remdesivir, which generates huge profits, antibodies, which generate huge profits. So this isn't an indictment of Big Pharma. I think Big Pharma is doing a great job. They're getting the vaccine out. They're promoting things that help people. I think that's wonderful. The problem is that in our society, like you said about following the money, the expensive drugs have a champion, and that's the pharma companies that make money on them. It's great. The inexpensive drugs don't have a champion. And as was mentioned in this hearing, there should have been a task force on repurposed drugs to use for COVID-19. Because the good thing about these is these are the most effective treatments that exist. And right now, everything's based on the vaccine, and the vaccine's important. But there are treatments that would save and would have saved tens of thousands of lives that aren't being used. And they're not being used because because nobody makes any money on them. And unfortunately, in our society, unless you're making money on it, it's hard to get a champion. There are lots of doctors who have, but the doctors don't have a voice. There were these Senate hearings that took place. Right. So what I'm saying is, and if these, and people should know, look it up. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine used early. It's completely safe. It's effective used early, hydroxychloroquine. Ivermectin, amazingly safe. Cheap, very low toxicity. So just to say to all the viewership here, these are things that would save lives for everybody, athletes, other people, but the messaging for them, it's not sexy, I guess. I don't know. There aren't people making money on it. So it's greatly under reported. So the net effect is that as bad as COVID-19 is, the general perception of it is even worse than what it really is. Part of this, you can hate the media all you want, and I think most Americans do, and I think there's reasons for that. But outside of the media being duplicitous or not, bad news sells. We talked about this before too, right? Disasters sell. So for that reason, cases get reported on much more so than hospitalizations or deaths, right? Because it makes the thing sound, it's bad, but it makes it sound even worse than it is. So that's what I think is going on here, long roundabout thing, is that sure, there's risks and dangers, but having 5 or 10,000 fans in the stands, socially distanced with masks, take steps beforehand to make sure that, and you can even tell Notre Dame, the Rose Bowl people could tell Notre Dame and say, look, if any of your fans come on the field, make Notre Dame put up $5 million in escrow or something and say, if your fans misbehave, it comes out of your pocket. I mean, you can absolutely control the bad things that would happen. And it'd be so good for everybody to have some fans out there, and it's safe.
Well, that's an interesting perspective, Doctor. And I'm sure if that was presented to them by the NCAA and the state of California and the Rose Bowl committee, I'm sure that there would definitely be some sort of backlash regarding that. But it is a
What kind of backlash do you mean, Jerry?
I'm sorry?
What kind of backlash do you mean?
I think Notre Dame would scoff at that. I think that Notre Dame would try to turn a blind eye to putting
Scoff
money.
what? I'm sorry. Scoff at which?
What you said, put some money in escrow, and if they don't abide by, the rules set in place as far as the Rose Bowl committee is concerned, and their fans get out of hand and, do everything they did in South Bend a few weeks back, that they're going to lose that money. That would create, in my opinion, a bigger issue.
You think so? It's interesting to hear you say that. Maybe you're right.
Right now, I mean, Notre Dame, we're not even talking about the possibility of being fined or having to pay if your fans get out. And Notre Dame's already not happy with the decision. So if you throw that additive into the mix, it's really going to ruffle some feathers. And you can believe not only Brian Kelly, the head coach of the football team, but the chancellor and the president certainly will voice their opinion as well, Doc. Just my opinion.
Let me ask you a question, because you're more in touch with the practicalities of this than I am. So Notre Dame says we want fans on the field, and not on the field, in the stands.
In the stands, yeah.
In the stands, socially distanced, mass, small numbers, and then you say to Notre Dame, okay, but given what happened, we need you to guarantee that your kids will be okay. And maybe the escrow isn't the right thing or something. So you don't think Notre Dame would say, okay, this is how we'll guarantee it? You think?
Say for instance, if they say, if your fans rush the field like you did, at your home game against Clemson, you're going to lose this money that's generated. This game is generated. Your school is going to lose this money, win or lose. If your fans are, off base, you're going to lose this money. Yeah, in my opinion, there's no question about it. I believe Notre Dame would, they flex their muscles, and some people believe they're arrogant, and I think those who believe that, they would see that arrogance if the committee tried to step in and say, hey, listen. Control.
And not just Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame or whatever other school they're playing as well, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to just single out. And Notre Dame, I'm just thinking this through. So Notre Dame could ask every person that went there, sign a waiver and make everybody that goes there say, look, you want to go to the game people pay huge sums of money for these games anyway, right?
Right.
So whatever they're paying, say, look, here's another X number of dollars you got to put up. And if you rush the field, I don't know. It's interesting. Again, you'd know better than I, but I would think that just asking somebody to, put up or shut up, put your money where your mouth is, whatever, I think if the Rose Bowl asked them to guarantee it in a way that had some teeth and they wouldn't, then honestly, then I'm not so sure they should let the fans come. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe I changed my opinion.
Yeah. I think any university, and you're right, we don't want to just single out Notre Dame, but they're the poster child as far as, fans this season attending these sporting events. They showed you exactly what you don't want to happen. So that's why we're using Notre Dame. Yeah. But I truly believe if it was put in front of them to say, if you don't control your fans, we're going to strip you of this conference money, this money.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's even better.
I think that Notre Dame, win or lose, I think they would scoff at it and say, no, you don't tell us what to do. We're going to tell our fans, but you're not going to penalize us because a fan rushes on runs onto the football field. You're not going to do that. We'll handle that in house. And what Notre Dame probably would counter with, in my opinion, I have no idea, but I think they would counter and say, you know what, if just like we did at home, if any of our fans rush the field, we will deal with them back in South Bend. We're not going to deal with it here. We're going to deal with it back at South Bend. We'll determine how we handle that, not you, and you're not going to penalize us for taking funds away from us. I think that's the stance Notre Dame would take, or any other institution.
Yeah, I mean, you're a smart guy. You're probably right. So let me ask you a question. What then if the Rose Bowl said to them, well, then we're not going to have fans?
Well, they can say that. They've already said that. We don't want fans here. And that's why Notre Dame, Brian Kelly is speaking out right now. I haven't heard from Dabo Swinney or Nick Saban or Ryan Day with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I haven't heard from any of those other coaches regarding this. And again, we don't know what teams are going to be selected to play in that semifinal game on New Year's Day. But Brian Kelly, I believe he felt that it was directed toward Notre Dame based on past experience, and he verbalized his displeasure with it. So it's already been said we don't want the fans to come to the game.
But you give them an opportunity then. You say, look, we're willing to let you have fans as long as you provide guarantees with teeth that they're not going to rush the field.
Well, that's probably what they're going to,
I'll be interested to see how it plays out. I would think, what do I know? But I think it'd be fair. I mean, if I were whoever at Notre Dame, the chancellor, whatever, I think I'd be willing to say to the guys, hey, you're young adults here, yada yada, and Notre Dame's not. I mean, those are pretty smart kids at that place, It's a real good school.
That's the point, Doc. They are smart, and 20,000 of those smart student fans rushed up to the field.
Yeah, but I think it's all on how you set it up, right? And I think if you set it up and if there's consequences for doing it, you tell everybody, this is Notre Dame's reputation, and then you have big security. I mean, you can definitely keep them off the field. That's not even the issue, right? And I know what you're saying. You don't want security guards to interact with these guys. But like I said, I don't think it's the barbarians at the gate. Right. I don't think this is the, so I don't know. Just my take on it. Who knows? But, it's interesting. Your take on it. It'll be interesting to see what happens, right? Because this is a real world laboratory. And, one thing we should do is learn from our mistakes. The nursing homes, right? In New York, Governor Cuomo meant well. He didn't want the hospitals to get overrun, so he emptied the hospitals into the nursing homes. Well, big mistake. He wasn't trying to do something bad. Made a mistake, in my opinion. But then you learn from your mistakes. And like Notre Dame, kids rush the field, so you realize, well, we just, we got to take more steps. So you learn from your mistakes. It's the whole thing. We talk about it all the time. I'm part of a study group of some well-known people with COVID-19, and the whole thing is that as it evolves, you have to constantly be looking at things and learn from your mistakes.
Right. But that's what the committee is saying. That's what the Rose Bowl committee is saying. The state of California is saying. You're not gonna. You made a mistake, Notre Dame. We're not going to invite you out here to possibly make another mistake because we don't think you've learned from it.
Well, then you do something with teeth. I don't know. It seems pretty simple to me. But what do I?
It is simple. And let me be clear. I think the fans that we're talking about are more family members. So mom, dad, sister, brother, a close relative. I think those are the fans that we're talking about. Because obviously you have seniors who are playing in their final game. It's a bowl game. It's a playoff atmosphere. So families want to be with their student athlete.
Yeah.
So I don't know the numbers as far as and it could be just 5,000 fans allowed inside. I don't know the numbers, but the point is it may not be the 18, 19, 20-year-old student on campus who's going to be flying out, going to these games. We're talking more of family members and close relatives who will probably be allowed to come to the games to watch this. And you can probably get a better responsible act out of those individuals as opposed to the 18, 19, 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, all true. But I think you can absolutely ensure that it won't happen with proper safeguards, potential penalties, one thing and another. And if Notre Dame is offended by that, then I don't know. I guess between them and the Rose Bowl, but I don't know why they'd be offended.
Doc, I think, well, I mean, it seems as if, the finger is being pointed at them, but, you got the SEC schools and ACC schools also who are allowing fans in the stands to watch their games. But I think the state of California are concerned once these individuals come from what they may consider, questionable states, they get off the plane and between, getting to the game and leaving the state, they're going to want to go out to dine. They're going to want to go out and do X, Y, Z and interact with, other people.
Well, can I tell something? So,
and I think they're concerned about that as well.
That's a good point too. Not just rushing the field, but just bringing people into the state. Although, I mean, tens of thousands of people are going to California every day. It's not like you can't travel by air. I mean, if you wanted to, you could do what we do. So when we do surgery, we have to get the hospitals all have a policy. You have to get a COVID test, usually 3 days before, negative COVID test. And then if you don't have a negative COVID test, the surgery's you get the COVID test, you postpone, and you get the surgery. I mean, if you wanted to, you could do the same thing with that too. You could make a condition of. I mean, it's a little bit of a job to verify all this, but I mean, it's doable, and again, it all just comes down to money. It's a few extra bucks. And like I said, people pay lots of money for these things anyway. But you just make sure that if you're going to go there, so then the hole in the logic could be this. So if the game's on I don't know what's it going to be on a Sunday, maybe if the game's on a Sunday, and
it'll be New Year's Day, which I believe
that's
is
a Friday.
Friday.
Friday. All right. So the people that are going to be in the stands have to have a negative COVID test from 3 days before, from the Tuesday. If you don't have a negative COVID test, you're not getting in the stadium. So kind of a wasted trip. So, and don't even come. And now, so you can get a negative COVID test on Tuesday and catch it Wednesday. You can get a negative COVID test on Tuesday and you could have caught it Monday, but not build up enough hours. So I realize nothing is going to be 100% accurate, but you can mitigate the risk. I think it's low risk, very low risk to begin with, and you can mitigate it even more. I mean, and let people decide. So people say, well, I don't want to get a COVID test, or I don't want to put money down to ensure that I want. Well, then fine, then don't go. But at least you give people. And you see, the thing that people want more than anything, in my opinion, is some logic. The thing that they hate is that I'm out running by myself on the beach and I get arrested for spreading COVID. It's nuts, right? And so if you just work with people, give people the opportunity to do things right, and it doesn't cost the state anything. The state could make money on it. They would make money on it. So all interesting points you raise, but that risk could be mitigated down to nothing more than everyday risk. And you could argue that it would lower risk because it keeps these kids, in a better place than they would be if they're not playing ball.
Well, I'm sure there's more on tap, Doc, and we'll certainly be tuned in. It's exciting, it's interesting, and it's the times that we're living in, unfortunately. But the good thing is, I think, from a mental health perspective and standpoint, these kids, they do want to play. And as fans, we want to watch them play, and we get an opportunity to watch them every Saturday to get out there on the gridiron and entertain us, because it's something that we definitely need as a society here in this country during this pandemic. So, for selfish reasons, we want them out there to play. And for parents who have kids who are playing at these respective institutions, I certainly understand, because if my son was out there, if Justin Fields was my son, the outstanding quarterback for Ohio State, I certainly would love to be at the Rose Bowl to watch him play in person as opposed to on television. Doc, we can continue to go on and on. It's always a pleasure and an honor to get an opportunity to bounce some ideas off of you, bounce some topics off of you, and get a chance to hear your response to them all, which is all good. If anyone wants to get a hold of you and find a way to learn more about any type of injury, whether they're experienced it or their favorite athlete may experience it, how do they get in contact with you, Dr. Chapadromas?
So our phone number is 847-699-6810. We've got a great staff and are always interested in helping any way we can.
Sounds fantastic, and you have a dynamic staff. I can say that personally firsthand because you guys certainly took. Doc, I can dance and move around. I'm all good.
Yeah, how you feeling? That's good for you. Well, Jerry, it always, healthy patients who are in good shape like you make doctors look good. I just got to tell you. So
well, you made me look good and you made me feel good, and I'm proud to say that. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Take care.
You too.